and welcome to Skeins Knit Crochet Podcast number 123. So, what do you want to start with today?
Sock.
I am making somebody a Christmas present sock.
It's me!
Actually, it's a really rekindled my love of making socks.
Okay. I can help you out with that.
Oh, thank you.
I can make you love socks again.
Thank you so much. That's so kind of you. You know, you're such a giving person. Anyway, what yarn is this again?
So that was from
Road Less Traveled?
Less Traveled Yarn. Yes.
Okay.
The Less Traveled Yarn. This is a 90-10 merino and silk socks.
You can
Y'all,
actually
silk.
see the sheen a little bit from the silk.
I have the same yarn in another color.
Isn't that interesting?
Isn't it?
So I said, okay, can you tell me about how you like the sock to look? And she was like, just make a sock.
No. She gave me this book, and you can choose all the different parts of the sock. So the leg part, the heel, what kind of heel you want, what kind of toe you want. And so the page is split into 3 so you can assemble the sock you want. And I'm like, this is too much. And I don't think about my socks that deeply.
And it was hard because I didn't have any idea what to make. I was like, if you could just give me, I wasn't saying I have to make that sock. I'm just saying, give me an idea of what you might like.
I was just overwhelmed by all of the things I did not ever think about socks. So I was just like, no. I just want a plain foot, whatever foot you normally do, and then wide cables for the leg.
So what I ended up doing is, well, you would say wide ribs.
Well, yeah, wide ribs.
Knit 3, purl 2 rib. So it's just going to be a nice wide rib. And I really like how it looks in this fabric.
Yes.
I think she likes it.
But this is a DK weight yarn because I wanted to try a heavier weight yarn for my boots. So it's going to be a boot sock, and I think it's going to be fantabulous.
It feels really nice. I am using my Flexi Flips. I believe these are from Addy. So it's 3 needles on short cables. So the whole thing is very flexible, and I really like this as a method for knitting socks. And I think I lucked out with the tip on this because Addy needles, in my opinion, have a notoriously blunt tip, and that blunt tip is really working out with this wool and silk yarn. And in a DK weight on these needles, I believe I am using 3.25 needles. The sock turned out to be 58 stitches, and I went up to 60 for the leg because I needed my numbers to work out for this patterning. And I just do my regular Fish Lips Kiss heel. And I make the sock based on Crystal's foot model.
It's my foot.
She laminated it. But if you just like making a plain sock, this has been the easiest way I've ever found to make a sock. You can just crank a sock out. No fuss, no muss.
You hear her,
no,
right? You can just crank out a sock. No fuss, no muss.
Over a few weeks. But anyway. I said I have forgotten how relaxing just knitting round and round on a sock could be. And I love having just a simple project that I can just go to.
I gave you the gift of Zen.
Yes, you did. You gave me the gift of Zen. Anyway, that's Crystal's Less Traveled socks.
I can't wait. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Every time I see them, because she'll be knitting around the house and then she puts them down somewhere and I'm like, happy dance. Yes, you didn't know. Secret happy dances have been happening.
I know about the secret happy dances. I'll make sure to leave them lying around conspicuously though. What's up with you, Cryss?
So, if you remember, I was working on a t-shirt out of worsted weight yarn. Finished it. Now, there are some things about worsted weight yarn that gave me a little trouble because I ended up using 2 different stitch patterns, and one stitch pattern, the gauge was much bigger. So point is, long story short, my sleeves are a little funky, but you know what? I was going back and forth between like taking it apart and doing my sleeves again, or just learning to live with it. And guess which one I decided on? Because the issue is that this being such a fuzzy yarn, it's just going to be hard to pick out. So we'll make it work, designer. But here is my t-shirt.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's just a short. It comes down like right to the very top of the hip. And I made what is called a Johnny collar. I'm going to have to block it because my collar, as you see, my points are not pointy. But apparently a Johnny collar is a collar specifically on a V-neck. And I just thought that was the cutest thing ever.
That is cute.
So I did 2 different stitch patterns, like I mentioned. So I have V-stitch for most of the body, and then at the shoulder and upper chest area, and down at the bottom at the hem, I just have alternating rows of double crochet and single crochet. And I did that because I didn't know how to do the shaping in V-stitch for this V-neck. So I just changed the stitch pattern where the shaping would be, trivial. And that was the thing to do.
Agreed.
And so I also did that same double crochet, single crochet at the end of the sleeve. And as I think you can see that it's a little bit fluted.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't like. But I'm just going to live with it. Because the chances that someone's going to notice that when I'm wearing it are very small. And if they do, mind your business. So what I'm probably going to do, if you cuff it by doubling it and make it deliberately look wider, it doesn't seem like the mistake that it was. So now I'm just very specifically making the end of my sleeve nice and chunky by folding it and doubling it. And then it doesn't have, that fluting doesn't look like it was an accident, which it actually totally was. But I really like how the V-stitch just opens it up, make it look a lot lighter. Plus, this yarn is like one of those brushed fuzzy yarns that also just kind of gives a lightness and an airiness. And I like that, I think, better. So if this is, it's a discontinued yarn from Juniper Moon Farm. It is Stargazer brushed.
Yes.
And it is a 8515 baby llama and nylon. Nice, and even with this V-stitch, it's warm. It's very comfy. So this is a nice thing, I think, to wear as a layer. So if you have to constantly adjust for temperature, you're going inside and outside, or maybe different rooms with different temperatures, this would work, because you could just wear a nice light tank top underneath it. And I think it's breathable enough that you'll still be very, very comfortable. So this is my first FO of the year. And when I say FO, I mean, never mind those strings. But I think about weaving in these strings almost every day. They're living in my head rent-free, simply because you can't wear it until you weave in the strings. And I'm very fixated on wearing the things that I make. So I don't want to be in my car in a parking lot weaving in ends again. So I'm going to get to this sooner rather than later. But, and I need to work on weaving in ends as I go. I feel like for me in particular, that's just the thing to do, because saving it all for the end stinks. It really does. It's like not studying for the test and then trying to cram. Don't do it. But she came out really cute, and I'm very, very happy with her. And that's I have an FO. So that's what I've been working on.
Okay.
And tell us about your sweater. You got a, oh yeah, I love this color. Oh my gosh, it's so. I remember when we got this yarn, because we actually bought this for the store, and we had a trunk show in from
Berroco.
Yes, Berroco. And so we bought yarn in the colors from the trunk show. And when this one came out the box, I was like, oh, it's so pretty.
I know. I love this color. Sadly, they don't put the sexy name on the ball band.
You have to go to the website.
Yeah, all you get is a number on the ball band, but the number is...
But I call it pumpkin spice. It's just in my head. I just made that up.
Yeah, 122. And I think that is sunflower. That's what they called it.
Okay. It's kind of orange or sunflower.
They come in a bunch of shades.
In my head, it's pumpkin spice.
So, this is actually the second version of this that I'm making. The first one was going along swimmingly, only it was child size.
That's not going along swimmingly then.
Oh, but it it was perfect for a child. And what happened was, when I calculated the number of stitches I needed, I left out the sleeve stitches. And so, yeah. And you know what? I was like, okay, I'm going to have to cast on extra stitches anyway, so it'll grow. It became apparent to me once I had to like join the sleeves. The sleeves were going to be quite tiny. And I was like,
You stay very still.
no, I mean tiny in the way of not being even able to get into it. Yeah. So I finally had to like accept that, you made this the wrong size. And I was like, well, what went wrong? My gauge is fine. Yeah, I didn't include all the stitches I would need in my stitch count. So, shazam. Anyway, recovered from that. Cast on again, including the sleeve stitches. So what I'm going to be doing in this sweater, it's just going to be a basic top-down raglan sweater. Let me see if I can find the top. Here we go. So I actually cast on here.
Is it V-neck?
No, it's going to be a round neck, but it doesn't look that way at the moment. So I am in the process now of building out the sleeves. I've done quite a number of raglan increases heading down. So what I want to do now is change my increase rate so that I'm not building up the entire circle at the same rate anymore. I want the sleeves to grow faster than the body does. So what that's going to do, you see how my raglan line is straight right now? That's going to make the raglan line curve to match the curve of my shoulders.
Fancy.
Yeah. So once this sweater gets to be the width, the circumference of my high bust, that's right under the armpits, above the full bust, I'm going to join for the sleeves. So I'm going to reserve the stitches for the sleeves. And I'm going to get it the rest of the way there by casting on extra stitches at the underarm. And that will finish out the armhole opening. And then I'm going to do some bust shaping.
Ooh. So this is something you like designing yourself, or is there a pattern, or?
Well, it's a 50-50. I'm using the procedure from the book Top Down Sweaters, the Knitter's Handy Book of Top Down Sweaters by Ann Budd. But the numbers are my own. And the alterations I'm doing are also my own.
I'm just writing down the name of the book because, we put things like that in the description and I forget.
Mm-hmm.
So, there you go.
So actually, I've already done the...
Oh, and this is Berroco Ultra Wool.
Yeah, Berroco Ultra Wool. We sang its praises and didn't say its name. That's so sad. This line has already started to curve because I got to this one first. So that's...
Show them your skulls.
Oh,
I like the skulls.
These are my point protectors. They are glow-in-the-dark skulls.
They're so cute.
Where did I get these? I got these at one of the Pennsylvania stores last year at the
Yarn Crawl?
The Philly Yarn Crawl, yeah. But I think so far, I really am getting a great understanding of how to build a raglan sweater. So I'm not like, oh no, what do I do? And I think what I want to do is continue to make some raglans. I want to do some summer versions. And I found this really cool quilt block designer. She does these pictorial blocks. And I'm thinking, why couldn't one of those beautiful blocks be the front of a sweater and just have a nice little picture in it, built in a texture. So I'm already like thinking ahead to my next one. But, so I think that will make for a really nice fitting sweater, and that will eliminate the problem of having way too much sleeve fabric here, and it will stop it from pulling up in the front, because I will be doing some short row bust shaping, and what that's going to do is going to lend some length to the front of the sweater. And I might do a little bit of waist shaping, but I don't really think I need to. We'll see how it fits as I go, because I'm going to top down. I'll be able to try it on. Very
You're
excited.
Do a thing where you put it on waist yarn and then put it on and then put it back on the needle?
Yes, because I won't be able to really fit it with the needle in.
That freaks me out, man.
Yeah, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. Like, I have some try-it-on.
I couldn't handle the stress of knitting. I don't know. For me, something about trying to keep it on the needles, it just seems very,
But you don't have to, like, try to keep it on the needles.
If you didn't have those little skulls on.
If I didn't have the little skulls on, I would just rubber band these two together. And that would take care of it. And that's just me being paranoid. And let's say it did slip off the needles. All you need to do is put the stitches back on the needles.
She says all you need to do. For me, it's like,
You know what? I felt that way when I was a beginning knitter. Okay. I lived in fear of dropping a stitch because I didn't know what would happen. I don't know what I pictured. Like, the whole thing would just go pop and that would be it. But no, if it does slip out, the loop just
you know
sits
what?
there.
I feel like in my head, dropping the stitches from the needles means your sweater's just going to unravel and you're going to wake up to a ball of yarn in the morning. That used to be a sweater.
Wish it were a ball.
A pile.
It would be a puddle.
A pile of yarn. And I'm just like, that, and I know that's not what happens, but in my head, I'm like, oh dear.
I am looking forward to blocking this because I'm just going to toss it in the washing machine and then toss it in the dryer. That's the beauty of Berroco Ultra Wool. Yeah, I'm very excited. But that's what's happening, and so far so good. What's coming up next for you in your crochet queue?
I have a lip. I maybe got myself into a little something, and now the only way out is through. So let me tell you.
Facts.
So I have this book that I bought called Knit, Fold, Pleat, Repeat. It's by Nora Gaughan, and it is a knitting book, but the whole premise of the book is that you basically make rectangles, and then afterwards you manipulate them to get different kinds of shapes and textures and what have you. And that idea interested me. And so you can see all my little flaggies. These are all things that I'm interested in making from this book. So I went through all my flags and I picked the top 3 and I decided to start on this top. And well,
you see what
there were some things I had not considered. The construction of this top is just very strange. So that's the top right there, not on a person. So you can see a thing is happening here at the shoulders, right? So basically you make the body in one piece. So you're making your back and a left and right front in one piece. And then eventually you're going to go back in and stitch that center front. But then you make the back taller than the front and you fold the back down. And so here's the thing. Let me show you what I have first. So I'm using Whisper Lace from Universal. It's distributed by Universal. So here we go. Pull that short. Okay. So basically you make the body all in one piece, and you split for the armhole, but then these two pieces will get folded into the front, and then I'll stitch something across here. I'm actually going to, so in the book she uses a texture, she uses the same yarn, but she uses texture on the center front. What I'm going to do is just use a variegated version of the same yarn, so that my center front instead of texture will be color. So this pattern for the smallest, for all of the sizes, it calls for 10 inches. 10 inches of, with more fingers somewhere, 10 inches of positive ease at the bust. I thought that was insane. Right? Who wants 10 inches of ease at the bust? Because what's that going to be at your waist? You're just going to be swimming in your shirt. So I made the smallest size, which calls for a 40-inch bust on the finished garment, but that's going to be like way less than 10 inches of ease for my size. There were some things I did not consider, namely that because this is sized for a person with a 30-inch bust, it is sized for a very petite person. And that would make for an armhole opening that's only 6 inches. And I need minimum 6.5, but I usually do my armhole somewhere between 7 and 8 inches. Because of the unique construction, because you're like, oh, just build up, right, to make your armhole longer. No. Not with this bad boy. Because I can't explain why, but just know that part of the height of the armhole actually comes from the width. So I would have to have made my front panel wider, not taller, because of the way it's going to get folded in order to make my armhole bigger, which means I would have needed to decide to make my armhole bigger from the very beginning and made the body overall a little bit wider, which means it's now too late. But I'm just going to have to pray to the gods of stretch to make my armhole fit. And we'll see how this goes. That's why I said the only way out is through. I'm just going to have to finish it, do that fold, and then see what happens when I put it on. I don't think it's going to be like impossible to wear or anything. The question will be, is it like at all uncomfortable? Who knows? But it would never have occurred to me. I'm literally making a size that's smaller than my size. It didn't occur to me to check the armhole because the whole thing is so oversized. I just assumed all of the dimensions would be oversized enough to compensate for the fact that I was making it smaller. But apparently we made this big flowing garment with a teeny tiny armhole. Riddle me that, Nora. So we'll just see how it goes. So I have to do about 20 more rows on the center back, and then I can fold it and see how this turns out. So I basically have to origami my top after I finish stitching it.
Would you be open to just picking up some stitches on the side and making it wider that way?
The only thing is this. So again, I'm doing alternating rows of single and double. So, and you can see a horizontal element.
Right.
If I picked up stitches on the side, that little piece is gonna be vertical.
Yeah.
So what looks like kind of a bar going across, those are the single crochet stitches. And so you'll see the row of single crochet looking vertical as opposed to horizontal.
It could be an interesting.
That's what I might have to do if I find that it doesn't fit.
Right. Because I would even consider doing it in the variegated, just to spread that variegated yarn around the top of it. That might be a really fun little addition.
Well, let me tell you something. I am like very uptight, type A, when it comes to crochet, I have let go so much of that, and I don't know how or why. I don't know why I'm just like, oh, it'll come out how it comes out. Because I wasn't even always like this about crochet. So now I don't know, I guess I just feel more comfortable in my troubleshooting. I talked about that previously, that I'm just like, okay, when I see a problem, I'll figure some way to fix that problem, you know, cross that bridge when you come to it. So I may end up doing what Lisa suggests. Because the fact that some of the stitches are going to be vertical and not horizontal just doesn't bother me the way me from like 5 years ago might have thought it would. I'm like literally like a different person today. So this top right now as it stands is basically an experiment, but I'm okay with that.
So how was it for you as a crocheter, and solely a crocheter, working from a book of knitting patterns?
I think it will always depend on the pattern, because you have to understand, basically all I use from this pattern is the
schematic.
Yes, thank you. The schematic. I'm making just a boxy shape, so I figured out what stitches I was going to use. There was no increasing or decreasing, but some patterns, like make one left, make one right, that's a way to increase or decrease, right?
Right, and it makes it lean one way or the other.
You have to know that. So if I was relying on the knitting instructions, you have to understand a little, you have to speak a little knit in order to do that. For this particular pattern, all I had to do was make a rectangle, and that was why this is the only knitting book I've ever bought. I don't typically buy knitting books. But because I knew that the whole game was to make rectangles and then manipulate them, I was like, okay, I can figure out at the very least how to make a rectangle, and then, you know, I have resources I need. But I didn't really have to delve into the knitting to understand this. I just had to understand the construction. Some patterns will differ. There's a pattern in here where you make these peaks and then you stuff them, and that would probably, I would have to go to Lisa and say, like, what is she saying here? How am I doing this? But I'm never going to make that scarf, so it's fine.
It's on the back of the book, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, see, it's got little poofy peaks.
I was intrigued, but the moment I looked at them, I said, that looks like
it's pyramid. It's like a little four-sided pyramid coming up off the surface of the scarf, and then you stuff it. You make in the round kind of, and then you stuff it, and then you cover it. No. Now, I'm not worried about those patterns. I'm basically just doing the ones you said, make a rectangle and then fold it here. But yeah, I have, you know, I've looked at knitting patterns before to try to figure out how certain things were done. And you have, like I said, you have to speak a tiny little bit of knit if you're going to do that. If you're just borrowing a shape, it's easier. And that's what I'm doing here.
Also, just like in crochet patterns, knitting patterns always have a list at least of what all of the abbreviations they're going to use mean. So as long as you can identify, oh, so this is increases, this is decreases, you know, regardless of how it says it's done, you can work it out.
That's my whip. Basically, it's hard to crochet like this, but you know, I'm getting it done.
Sure.
I'm basically like winging a prayer here. But so far so good. I really like this yarn though, which is good because I have a bunch of it.
Yeah.
Because when they discontinued it, I scooped up a little bit.
A little bit.
I wish I'd gotten more variegated. I have a lot of solid colors, but yeah, I don't understand why certain yarns get discontinued, and it makes me very, very sad.
It's okay.
Like, can we bring it back? Can we have like a yarn revival and just like bring back certain discontinued yarns? Because this is the stuff. It's so light, and because crochet stitches literally just have a little bit more yarn in them, it can be hard to get that lightness. Especially when you're not doing a lacy stitch, which I'm not. I'm doing doubles and singles. And still I have like this beautiful lightweight fabric. It's just such a wonderful yarn. Like I would do a whole little like mini wardrobe out of just this yarn. And I'm using a 3.25 millimeter hook, which is a little big for this yarn, but I wanted, so the original is kind of like gauzy because it's made out of a linen. But you can see that it's almost a little sheer. It's like semi-sheer.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to try to recreate that effect. So I did go up a little bit in hook size because I think the recommended hook for this yarn was 2.75. And so I went up to 3.25. But I could work at a smaller gauge with this yarn and, you know, just get a really beautiful fabric. And the next time I use it, I need to work at that smaller gauge.
And
can't wait.
You got me thinking about my little Whisper Lace stash. I have 2 sets that I also bought mohair to go with. So yeah, I think I'm gonna be breaking those out.
Here's the Whisper Lace. Here's the Whisper Lace.
And the mohair will take it up to at least a DK.
Yeah. That's cheating, but okay. I'm really forgetting her to use the Whisper Lace. She's like so anti lightweight yarns.
I'm a tricksy knitter and I like it like that.
But yeah, so far I like how it's coming out, and I love this yarn.
And it feels beautiful. It really feels nice.
So it's a 70-30 woolen silk. It's not merino, but it's a woolen silk. And I am like going forward, I'm definitely going to be looking for more yarns that have silk in them as a replacement for nylon, just because, you know, I want to use less synthetic fibers. And if you still want some strength in the garment, silk will give you that. Plus it's very breathable. It's a nice insulator, so silk can, you know, keep you warm or cool depending. So I'm really hoping to work a little more with silk.
I'm really interested to see how these socks wear.
I know, me too.
Socks with nylon in them.
Because Lisa's very pro nylon in socks specifically. So this is an experiment for both of us. Like, how will these hold up? Because I'm going to be wearing them with boots. So the boot itself, you know, it's got the leather exterior. It's going to be a little bit harder. So we'll see how it stands up to the friction.
So we have some events coming up. We happen to live at a crossroad. So
hang on, I thought you did classes.
Oh, well, I was going to talk about those too. But okay, I have my list. I have a list because I have some classes coming up. By the time this is out, I will have started my pocket series. I'm doing a pocket series this spring. So I have 3 classes. You can learn how to make one of each kind of pocket in the class. So I have a class going to be about patch pockets, side seam pockets, and afterthought pockets, meaning we're going to cut some stitches. Those are my March classes, and for April I'll be doing Bind Off Loosely and Chart Your Path. And just for you guys, if you made it this far, there's a coupon code, Spring10, that will give you 10% off your class.
Where should they look for the classes?
On lisagtoppin.com. Yay!
So these are videos, will be live, or you stream them?
They're live, and you know, we'll just be there hanging out, making pockets and stuff.
Okie dokie. Now we can talk about, she was jumping ahead to the yarn crawls because we had a couple of yarn crawls coming up.
Yes. We live between the Philly yarn crawl and the New Jersey wool walk. So it's very exciting.
So when this video goes up, Philly yarn crawl will be just a few days away because it's the 13th to the 16th of March.
Yes.
And then wool walk is April 20 something. It's the end of April.
It's at the end of April.
And we're trying to figure out what we're doing. Last year, I think we went to about 11 of the stores.
In Philly, yeah.
And it was exhausting. It was fun, though.
We had a blast.
And we went to a bunch of stores that, it was our first time visiting any of those stores. And I loved it. But driving in Philadelphia is interesting. It's not my favorite thing. Look, I'm from a public transportation city. I'm from New York City originally. And driving in an urban area is just not a thing I do. So it was a little traumatic for me, but that's how you get to the stores. So
some of it wasn't the urban driving though. There was this little bridge.
I don't even understand how. We had two bridge issues because there was one bridge that was so narrow, like literally it was quiet. Like everyone, I felt like we were all holding our breath trying to get across this bridge. It was so short. I'm like, why is it even here? But you have to go really. When we got to the bridge, I wanted to turn around, but there were cars behind me, so I had no choice but to go over this tiny bridge where you're basically almost touching the other car in oncoming traffic. And then there was another bridge that said, what was it? Two-way bridge or something. It said something weird in describing the bridge, and I was like, no, it said one-way bridge. It said basically you have to take turns crossing the bridge. So people go this way, and then you wait, and then people will come this way, because it's just one lane. A one-lane bridge. That's what
one-lane bridge. That's what it said.
It's a one-lane bridge, and it was like, that's not a thing. Apparently, it is. So yeah, I find city driving very stressful.
And rural driving is no fun.
That would be a whole other conversation, and it would not be PG because I have some words. But we're also trying to figure out, like, realistically, how many stores to go to, how much yarn we actually even want to buy, because one, we have a lot of yarn, and two, we want to save money. So it's like every year we have like these different considerations for
we figure it out.
Yarn crawls, but I don't think last year was the first ever Philly yarn crawl. We were a little excited.
So we were like, we have to go.
We were trying to go to like many, many, many stores.
Our goal was to hit every store, but I think by the second day, we were all done. We were done. Okay.
But I was thinking maybe we could do like one store a day.
Oh.
Because I think the crawl is only like 4 days.
That would be pleasant.
Yeah, and we just pick a particular store and not make it a nightmare. The only day we might go to more than one store is if we go to Gaughan and Wild Ham, because they're literally about 6 minutes apart.
Yeah, they're very close.
So that we might work it that way.
You know what? I think you just hit on the idea. Yes.
And just relax and chill. And last year, the yarn crawl like overlapped with St. Patrick's Day, and we didn't want to go into Philly on St. Patrick's Day. But this ends on the 16th this year, so we could get in, get out.
Yeah, they learned their lesson, I think.
But yeah, so I don't know. How do you all figure out the yarn crawl thing? Because we've been doing it for years now, and we're still
we have to work it out every time.
How many stores to go to? How do we manage the budget? Because it is really just like a giant consumption bonanza, and that's fine if that's what you want. But you have to figure out, how to make that work for you.
Since I am not a regular yarn store shopper, I see this as my way to support yarn stores. So I want yarn stores to exist.
Definitely.
So at least during a yarn crawl, I've got to get out and visit at least a handful of stores, because this is how they exist. So, yeah.
And they're just so nice. They're such nice spaces. It's just so much cozy, and it's just, I don't know. I like yarn stores and bookstores for some reason. So, and then, but having 2 yarn crawls also back to back.
Yeah.
One in March and one in April.
And
ain't nobody balling like that, all right?
Thank goodness we don't even think about going to Maryland Sheep and Wool, because that's That's May. That would be March, April, May.
That's one of the things I would like to do one of these days, but don't ask me which day. And then now Sheep and Wool, there's an event that happens a day or two before it called Yarn Centric. It's like in a nearby town. So that's just another smaller now yarn event. It just keeps growing, which is good. Yay! For a small business. But I can't keep up anymore. I'm not even gonna try. So
but I think you hit on the idea. I think that would be very pleasant to go to 1, maybe 2 stores max each day. Especially if they're, clumped together like that. Other than that, yeah.
So we'll have to figure out which stores. There's one store that we didn't get to last year. It's in some place, a part of Philly called Fishtown. I think that's somewhere like in northern Philly, and I forget what they're called, but they do all like natural fibers.
Yes. I can't remember what they're called, but I remember. Yeah, you know what? We should make it a point to go see that one because that was one of the ones we didn't get to last year.
But yeah, so we'll have to figure this out both for Philly and for New Jersey Boardwalk, which stores to go to, and how to manage the budget.
We were thinking about being so sedate, we weren't even going to buy a passport.
Yeah, because I feel like the passport is specifically for the raffle entry. So if you don't know how this works, you buy a passport, and the passport is just a little booklet that lists the names of all the stores. And each store you go to, you get like a stamp or a marker of some kind showing that you went to that store. Then at the end of the event, you submit it, and all the ones that have visited all the stores will get entered into a raffle. So unless you really intend to go to all of the stores, you don't really have to buy a passport. I might get a tote bag though. This year's tote bag is green. So I might get a tote bag. But I think we're going to even forego the passport, which is like, wow.
Ooh,
I know, right? It just seems like what you do, even though you don't really need it. Because last year, so they do raffles based on...
but wait a minute. You need the passport to get the discount.
Do you?
And in New Jersey, you do. I don't know
about Philly.
if they're a little loosey-goosey about it in Philly.
Loosey-goosey. But, yeah, we'll see. We may or may not buy passports. Or, you know what? We could just buy one passport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just pass that thing
Last year
around.
we bought 3. I wanted to increase our chances in the raffle. But we might just do 1 this year. Yeah. But yeah, so if you guys are looking at yarn crawling, let us know what you're thinking and how you weigh these things and how you travel. Do you have a driver? Because I'm the driver in my yarn crawl, and I would love a driver. I feel like if I had a driver, I'd go to all the stores.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, tell us about your yarn crawling experience. And if you have not been to either Philly Yarn Crawl or New Jersey Wool Walk, definitely check them out. There's really some just great stores. And it's totally worth it. But we gotta manage the budget too. So I think that's all we have for today.
Yeah, that's it for today.
And we'll see you next month. And stay stitching.
Bye-bye.